So with that, I am delighted to introduce longtime friend of the center and Focus Suites, Brett Stohs. Brett is an attorney, and he is also the director of the Weibling Entrepreneurship Clinic on the UNL College of Law. And we have referred a lot of people to them over the years. I'm not going to steal Brett's thunder by telling you what they do, because I'm sure he's going to tell us, but they are an incredible resource for area small business owners and startups. And Brett and his team just do a bang up job, and we're delighted to have him today. Brett, thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, Steve, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Steve. The feeling is mutual. We've had a wonderful experience working with the center over many years, and the lots and lots of Focus Suite tenants and business consulting clients and whatnot. It's great for us because the clients who come in the door with a clearer sense of their business, what they want to achieve, and how a lawyer can help really makes our job infinitely easier. And so I appreciate that. I did put together a quick slide deck, and I'll throw it up on the screen. Please do tell me if something goes wonky about it, because it tends to make my computer go bonkers. Are you seeing a kind of a cover slide page, virtual Perk Up Thursday? Okay. I want to, my goals today are to share, I guess, my continued excitement about the clinic, give you a little bit of flavor about what we do, how we can help, and also share a little bit of maybe the challenges or the things that make us maybe different than you might just expect for somebody who is looking for legal help. Let's see. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been doing this for, since 2012. I've had the benefit of working with over 150 students during that time. And I should have gone back to check how many clients. I mean, the number of clients we've worked with is kind of staggering. So it's it's been a wonderful opportunity at the law school. The other hat that I wear is that I'm a professor. So I am a practicing attorney, continue to have the license, but my primary job is as professor. And so I work with 8 to 10 students each semester who are in their third year of law school. So law school is a 3-year program, after which the students take the bar exam, and if they succeed, then they become licensed. So I get them during their last year and really give them a chance to test out the skills, the knowledge, the confidence that they've built up throughout their lives, and let them see how far it gets them when they deal with real world problems, real people. I remember as a law student neglecting some of those soft skills. I thought I just needed to know, okay, this is what the law says, or, oh, this is how I need to think about legal problems. I didn't actually practice or study how to work with clients or think about how business works, right? So those are some of the things that I quickly figured out in my early parts of my corporate law career that I needed to know. And so I'm trying to give the students a chance to build those skills and experiences while in law school. So the clinic is set up as a 1 semester kind of experience for the students. And again, I'm going to tell you about the client services in a moment. But the reason that we exist and the reason that we provide free legal services is primarily for the benefit of our students. They get a chance to learn on the job under the supervision of someone who is there to support them before they go off into practice. Once they practice, and once they take the bar exam, they get licensed, they're on their own. I mean, they may go work at a firm and have colleagues, but if they make a mistake, it's their law license on the line, their reputation. I worked very hard along with Kelsey Van Patten. Kelsey is on the call here too. She's our legal assistant. We worked very hard to give the students a broad safety net so that they can try things out and see what works and what doesn't, right? So from the client side of things, that can make things a little interesting, right? If you hire a lawyer, just like if you hire a surgeon, you want someone who's competent and able to do it right the first time. Our model is such that we don't always get it right the first time. The students work with me to go through drafts of documents, various arguments, whatever they're doing, in order to get to the right place. But it's not immediate, right? It's something that would take me, an hour to do would probably take a student about 3 weeks. So there's some challenges associated with our model. But again, I think that those costs are worth the benefit. Let me just share just a little. I mean, this is stuff that you all probably know if you've started a business or worked for a young business. So there's a gap, right? So lawyers exist to provide legal services, but not every business owner goes and sees a lawyer, right? For you getting started, there may be legal barriers, right? You may have permits you need to get. You may have real estate you need to lease. You may have a loan you need to borrow, and you might not think of that as a legal thing, but it absolutely is. Anytime you sign your name to something, or you enter into a handshake with someone saying, "I'm going to do this if you do that," right? Those are all legal barriers, or transactions you're engaging in. So there may be some barriers between you and starting a business. There may also be legal opportunities to increase your chance of success, right? So if you're negotiating that contract with your co-founder about who's going to split what part of the equity, or you're going to make some choices about who manages, how you make decisions, those can be very, very important, not just today, but down the road when you maybe run into a situation where you don't agree. Um, or if you're negotiating with a franchisor, or to license certain intellectual property, right? So there's some things there where you may not realize there are opportunities to help yourself grow, or be set up for the future. And so again, lawyers can help you with those sorts of things. Another reason for this gap is that lawyers tend to be expensive, or at least businesses don't have sufficient funding to hire a lawyer, even one that's less expensive, right? You are thinking about developing your product. You're thinking about making sure you have clients and doing marketing. I mean, there's a lot of things that are very expensive, as you all know, about starting up a business and running it. So lawyers sometimes feel like, well, it's kind of like insurance. It's like, well, yeah, it'd be nice to hire a lawyer, but I just don't have I don't have the flexibility and the funding to do that. So in my experience, a lot of new business owners don't hire lawyers. Totally understand, it's very reasonable, but that's part of the reason that we in the clinic exist. So if I like to think of options along the model of that. In an ideal world, you want something to be good, you want it to be fast, and you want it to be cheap, right? But life tells me that you can at best get two of the three, and there are real downsides to each option, right? So hiring a private lawyer tend to be, again, you find the right lawyer, they'll be very good. They might be very fast. Many lawyers, if you say yes, I'll pay $100, $200 an hour for your time, they will drop things and they will do that work, and then they will charge you promptly. Others, unfortunately, are not very fast, but generally speaking, pretty fast. Typically not cheap, right? So that's the downside there. You've all heard of LegalZoom, and of course, there's a bunch of other ones out there too. Those are fast. You can go find them right now. You can pay them money. I say yes-ish on the cheap side. They're kind of not cheap in my experience. I mean, LegalZoom can charge you $500-600 for something that is not worth $500 or $600 in my opinion, which again might be cheaper than the 2,000 that the lawyer quoted you, but it's still kind of not cheap. Good? No. I'm going to flat out tell you, LegalZoom is not a good option for 9/10 of the things, because when you come to us and we look at the stuff you did on LegalZoom, let's just say that I look at it as a great educational opportunity for both student and client. Um, Other options, Google, right? So screw that. I don't want to pay $500. I'll just use Google and I'll find stuff. Okay, that is cheap. It's definitely not good. And I will say it's also not fast, because you are going to have to deal with the fallout of the failures of those documents. Why did the Secretary of State not accept my filing? Well, because you didn't draft it right, because you just found something online that was wrong, right? So I think Google is a wonderful tool for many things. Doing it yourself, you should be careful about. So this is where we fit in, right? So we come in the bottom of this food chain, where our services are indeed free. So there's a wonderful price point, and we're good. The services we provide are top notch. I think we have a pretty good sense of the types of things that folks need for most of their issues. We do a lot of things I'll talk about in a moment, but we are definitely not fast, right? So that is our biggest challenge, and I see a couple of familiar faces here on the call who may be able to attest to that. Hopefully, we've been fast enough under the circumstances, but again, the students have not done this before. They are working through it. They're balancing multiple clients, and I'm also a bit of a blockage in the process too. Everything that they draft has to go through me, and so since I have 8 students and recently I've had 10 students, I'm kind of that supervisor who says, sure, I'll get to it in a couple of days, and it's about a week, right? So those are the challenges. Things we do, right? So we do a lot of stuff. We will not do any litigation, so don't come to us if you are looking to sue your partner because he or she did something that they shouldn't have done. But we do a lot of things that are more forward looking, kind of non courtroom, but kind of setting yourself up for the future. A lot of corporate types of work. This is kind of the bread and butter that I came out of practice with a lot of knowledge on, choosing which entity you want to form, like a corporation or a limited liability company. Should I form in Delaware? Should I form in Nebraska? How do I do that? What are all the things I need to file, and what do I need to know? Founder agreements. I highly recommend, if you have any partnership at all with any other colleagues, get this in writing and have a lawyer help you. You can absolutely screw this up. And my experience and practice suggests that the times that folks will pay the big fees is because partnerships break down. And if they haven't made plans in the front end, it can be a real mess. We'll also do corporate audits, right? So if you've done some of these things yourself and you just want some affirmation that you did it right, or help tweaking it for the things that didn't quite go right, we're happy to do that for you as well. IP, intellectual property, hot thing, especially in the modern economy. So much of the value can be attributed to these assets that are intangible, these ideas, the branding and stuff. So we do a lot of trademark work, filings with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. I don't want to undercut my private lawyer colleagues, but we actually have we're part of a program through the PTO, Patent and Trademark Office, where we folks who file trademarks through our program get expedited treatment. So it might take ordinarily about 3 months to get a trademark examiner to act on your application. It takes about half the time for the applications we put forward. And it's designed, again, to help the students be able to see the process happen in a bit more of a speedy fashion. So we do a lot of trademarks. We do a lot of internet policies. Again, that's kind of contracts, but applied to online, non-disclosure agreements, things of that sort. In the other category, contract drafting, I won't say we'll draft any contract under the sun, but we do a lot of different contracts. It's kind of the language of corporate law. And one of my favorite things to see students do is where they deal with a client and the client says, I need a contract to govern this relationship. And the students are like, I've never heard of that before, or I've never thought about that. I can't do that. And of course, by the end of the semester, they do. And it's great. I think we had a client this semester, Kelsey, help me if I'm getting this, please affirm if I'm getting this right. A client who is in the business of inseminating cows for breeding purposes. Is that right? Yeah. So that was an interesting contract between the source of the insemination and all this stuff. It was, again, just kind of off the wall stuff that they don't teach us about that in law school exactly. So, but it worked. We got it done, and we hopefully help the client think about those issues on the front end. We'll do a lot of employment work. A lot of folks are thinking about, I want to hire independent contractors because, of course, they're cheaper. But we'll work through those issues. Usually they should be employees, just so you're aware. Regulatory issues. We've had some clients wanting to do some interesting work with alcohol sales. We had a client who wanted to do it on a mobile truck. We've had clients who wanted to sell kind of farmers market kind of products from their home. Some of those laws have changed recently. That's been interesting. And then nonprofit is kind of thrown in. This it's not on the end there as a throwaway. It's actually a really important part of our work. We do work with probably maybe a quarter of our clients are nonprofits. And so those are wonderful opportunities too, because you have some complicated formation issues, you have tax exemption issues, and some great opportunities to help boards understand what their responsibilities are going forward. Because being a tax exempt organization is actually a really heavy lift. So that's kind of a slew of the things we do. I'm happy to take questions if you have specific ones about other things. But that's the basics. Like I mentioned, there are some trade-offs to being free. So we commonly get the question where folks call and say, hey, I just have a question. Can I talk to a lawyer? And the answer is almost certainly no with us. And there are a few reasons for that. One, I mentioned the educational goals piece, right? So if I put you on the phone, you a stranger, with one of my students, those students are not going to be able to competently advise you. They're not lawyers yet. And similarly, I just can't drop everything every day we get a client call and sort of help supervise the student to take a client call, right? So we don't have a process for that kind of quick advice. There's a little exception to that, which I'll talk about in a moment. I mentioned the student practice rule. They can only practice under my supervision, so I can only give them so much leeway. The students have workload limits. This became even more apparent in the last half of the semester with the COVID-19, where all of our operations had to move to an online format, which was, we made work from an educational institution perspective, but man, the students really, I think, bore the burdens of those transitions, and we really saw them working so hard to do the best amidst these really chaotic circumstances. But they're working in the clinic for about 20 hours a week at most, and along with all their other courses and multiple clients, again, they can only do so much, and being able to plan is pretty important. Similarly, complexity limits as well. A lot of the clients that call us and say, "Hey, I have a question. I just have a quick question. I want to do a franchise. I want to open up a franchise in town. Can you tell me about whether this contract provision is enforceable?" And the students aren't experts in complicated stuff yet, right? And frankly, I'm expert in some things, but not in everything. And most lawyers should be careful anyway when wanting to give you advice about complex questions without doing a really robust interview to understand your needs. So those are some of the reasons that if you do call us and say, "Hey, I saw this Stohs guy. I just have a quick question. It'll just take 10 minutes." Totally understand. We would love to be able to help you with that. Probably not, and we're sorry about that. That said, we do our best to kind of work through things as we do. Um, so let me, before I maybe talk about, so ignore the slide, I guess, for a moment. So our main way of taking on clients is that we have an intake form. There's a website at the end of the deck that I'll show you, where you can go and you can click on the link to fill out a client intake form. Once you do that, that information goes to Kelsey, and then she kind of goes through a bit of a pre-intake process to follow up on any questions she has, get you in our system. Um, and then from there, what we do is we usually bring on a batch of new clients at the beginning of each semester. So that is typically in August, early September for the fall, December, January for the spring. And then for the summer, it's right around now, about mid-May. And we're going through the process of selecting clients for the summer right now. So we do sometimes have openings during the year, but generally speaking, I try to give the students a full plate out of the gate so that they have clear expectations and they can set their clocks accordingly. But of course, things change. And so we are happy to bring in folks as time permits. We do tend to have a queue. So each semester, Kelsey and I go through that queue and we say, who are the folks who are best positioned to jump in as clients today? She follows up to see if things have changed. And then we go from there. So we do try to bring on folks in a timely way. And it's not a first in, first out thing. So it's not like we'll be able to tell you that if you apply, you'll have a 9-month wait. Sometimes I do bring in folks who apply today. I'll bring them in within a week if their needs are timely and if our ability to serve those needs fits well. So it's kind of a hit or miss, but feel free to ask us. We can give you as much clarity as we can. And then each student team of 2 students usually has about 3 or 4 clients. So on balance, we've probably got 15 to 20 clients at any given time. That's about the way the numbers work. So now, if you go back to your the slide deck screen, we've created a quicker option for this, and we call it Legal Basics. We've worked with Steve and the SEC team on this in the past, and really appreciated their help. We've tried to come up with a construct that's simpler than the project of we've got a client that was going to work on matters for a full semester. And what we do there is we set up a 1-hour window, 1-hour meeting time, where the extent of our client relationship is going to be that 1 hour. And the students, again, will run that meeting under the supervision of me or another licensed attorney. And they'll do a little bit of prep work to understand your needs, but then they'll show up at that 1-hour meeting and try to go through everything as best they can, right? So there's some great opportunities there for the quick question, for the, hey, I'm trying to understand, should I be an LLC or a corporation? I've worked with this employee for about a year. I'm calling him an independent contractor, but do you think that that's right? So there are certain things that we can do in an hour. There are certain things we cannot. We would not be able to help you and your partnership team negotiate founder agreements with equity and management, right? That takes weeks or months. So there are certain things we can do, and there are certain things we can't. But that's a nice option. We try to do at least twice, maybe 3 times a year, or even periodically during a semester if circumstances permit. So that's kind of the brief advice construct. That's a sample from what we used a couple of years ago to advertise it. We sometimes had those sessions at SEC in the focus suites as well, and so we really appreciated the team in helping identify folks that might fit for that program. So just to kind of piggyback, and we'll head to some questions here in a moment, but back to my chart, if you throw on that legal basics construct on the end, in theory, we kind of hit all three of the yeses with still cheap, being free. It's fast in this case because it's just a single hour meeting, and it's good. I put the asterisk here because I'm a lawyer, but the asterisks really just kind of boil down to, there's only so many things you can do in a 1 hour meeting. And even on our clinic side, I put an asterisk there because there are certain things we just can't do. And so there's some limitations there. So, again, we're trying to help fill the void here in the Nebraska community. A common question is, do you have to be a university student or something like that? No. This is if you are starting up or have started up in recent past, a business in Nebraska, Lincoln, Omaha, Imperial, Crawford, it doesn't matter, anywhere in the state, then you're certainly well within our bailiwick, and we'd be happy to consider working with you. Cool. So I'll leave that on the screen, I guess, maybe for a minute, and then I can kill it here in a second. Maybe if you want the contact information, maybe just grab a screenshot here in a second, and then I can turn it off so that we can all see each other again. But I'm happy to take questions, whether they be on the chat or just verbalize, and I'll defer to Steve on how you want to do it.
All right. Well, Brett, thank you so much. And I would urge anybody to take advantage of their wonderful services. They do a great job, and they have helped countless people, not only in our focus suites, but otherwise. So, Brett, thank you so much. I'm going to unmute everybody now. So if you have questions for Brett, please let us know. All right. You're unmuted.
Hey, Brett, what is your opinion of these prepaid legal services or legal insurance?
Thanks, Joe. I have not seen circumstances where that made a lot of sense, but admittedly, I think there may be businesses where maybe there's risk of litigation that you want to protect against. I think another challenge, it kind of relates to, some of the challenges that you might have seen in the past with HMOs, where people got upset that, well, but I want to pick my doctor. I think some of the legal insurance providers you're kind of stuck with certain providers that will accept that. And within the legal industry, unlike health and others, there's just not a robust construct for insurance. So I just haven't seen a lot of circumstances where that made a ton of sense. I think an alternative, if you're thinking about how to hedge against future litigation risk or cost of lawyers, is to build a relationship with one or more attorneys early in your business's life before you find yourself needing to go to court. Some of the reasons that things get expensive is that you don't have a choice, and you're like, I need a lawyer because I'm stressed and I got this lawsuit, I need it now. Then it's harder for you to interview and find the right lawyer, and also negotiate a fee structure that actually works for you. Lawyers are good at negotiating. You should absolutely negotiate with them and say, I can't pay that much, or I need to spread it out, or I don't really like paying by the hour because, wait, doesn't that mean you're just going to work more? So I think there are some reasonable questions that you should absolutely subject your attorneys to, and I think that would, again, in my experience, that would be a more fruitful course than insurance. But again, that's just what I've seen.
Thank you.
Brett, I've got a question for you. One thing that we've seen repeatedly at the center, people will come in, they're all excited about starting their business, and boy, they can't get business cards fast enough, or a website up and a Facebook page. And then they're in business a year, and all of a sudden a letter comes in the mail. It's a cease and desist order because they didn't properly research their name and its availability. Can you address that a little bit?
Happy to. Yeah, totally. We have some clients that come through and they're like, I don't actually have a business yet, but man, this name is the best ever. Can you help me protect it from all risk? It's like, no, we can't actually. Go get a business first. But yeah, the name is fascinating. We actually have a client we're working with now. We just got a cease and desist. They're trying to do everything right. They filed it for trademark protection. It got approved for initially by the PTO, but a company with one word that's similar or the same, I guess, as part of our client's name has said, yeah, we have that part of that word, and no, you need to withdraw. Or we're going to sue your pants off. And so yeah, the names can be a real bugger. Use the internet, search your name. I mean, not just the first couple of pages of results, like go like 100 pages deep. Search social media. Sometimes folks have Facebook pages and they don't have a Google website anymore. There are, that would be the kind of thing where sometimes in the clinic, we have resources to be able to search for certain things in ways that are different. So another thing you could do, so the US Patent and Trademark Office has a system for searching registered trademarks. So again, I'd be hard pressed to think that if you search Google and Facebook, that you wouldn't run into this business that exists, maybe that has a similar name. But you can search the Patent and Trademark Office too and see, okay, let's say I want to form up a business that has, maybe a funny spelling of a word, right? So huddle is a good example. It's if you actually searched for HUDL, you won't find it or you wouldn't have found it on the trademark search. But if you searched HUDDLE, then you might find lots of examples, right? So search for words that look like what you want to do, or that sound like it, and just see if there's anybody out there with a registered mark. The folks who have a registered mark are likely the ones that have more reason to get upset if you start to act in business under a name that is similar to theirs. And you can look at their application and see, did they have a lawyer help them? If they did, that lawyer might be on the lookout for infringers. So those are some things you can do. This is a tough one because the marketplace is kind of saturated with names, and you have to really work hard to come up with something distinctive that doesn't trip over other folks. I guess, Steve, one other piece of this that matters a lot. So let's say that you wanted to start up a business. Let's say you want to start a restaurant, and you want to call it, Huddle House, because I don't know why, you like it. And you're like, oh shoot, there's another company in town called Huddle. I can't do that. They won't let me get that mark. I should give up. Well, not so fast, I guess. The world of trademark protection allows different companies to exist where there's no risk of confusion. So for the customer. So in this case, a restaurant with the word Huddle and a software company with the word Huddle are not likely to get confused. Customers not going to accidentally show up at Huddle's offices downtown looking for pancakes. So more than likely that wouldn't be an issue, even though the names might sound very similar, right? So it's a little bit of a complicated question. Again, we could help you think through those things and decide whether you want to use the name at all, whether you want to seek registration for it, or whether you just want to kind of use it for a while and see if it sticks. What I will say is that a lot of times businesses decide to change their names within the first few years, either because they realize it's not the bee's knees, or they get feedback from the customers that it's not the bee's knees. And taking a lot of steps to trademark and pay money for that up front may be wasted if you do indeed change your branding at some point.
Excellent, thank you. Questions out there? Any more questions?
Just a comment about trademark name, Duckmatic, which we all know about. Mm-hmm. When they opened, I was doing some work with them, and they started out with Ducks Unlimited, DUCTS. About 3 months into that, they got a letter out of Chicago from corporate saying, you can't use that name. Even though the Ducks was different, yes, the intention was there.
Yes. Well, and of course, why were they? They were almost certainly using it because of the similarity, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It was recognizable,
Yeah. That's a no-no.
Any other questions?
Renee, go for it. You're on mute. Still on mute.
There she is.
I couldn't unmute myself because I'm sure it was because my daughter was playing the trumpet. I got muted. So I just wanted to give a testimonial to Brett and his team there last semester. I just got like royal treatment by Trevor Squared, I called them.
Yeah.
Trevor Lee and Trevor Vanderkamp. They were amazing. They did so much work. They worked so hard for me. I just couldn't have been more grateful to them. They were amazing. And I know Brett oversaw, they did so much for me. So I want to be a client again. I have so much work for you guys to do. So I don't know, but yeah, you guys are doing awesome work, and it's just really cool that you're doing that for the state of Nebraska.
Well, thank you, Renee. Well, we appreciate it. You were a wonderful client for us too. You really helped both those guys learn a lot. Lots of varied, interesting challenges, and you were responsive. You met with them with frequency. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I can't tell you how important those things are for their educational opportunity. They are going to remember having done this stuff for you, which is just fantastic. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was really fun. I had a good time, and I learned a lot too. And I have 2 new projects for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Other questions for Brett?
I saw that Stacy was trying to get unmuted. See if I can.
There's almost.
Here we go. Oh.
Okay, thank you. My question is regarding the fact that now that many more people are willing to work with us virtually, we might be picking up clients outside of the state that we hadn't originally expected to do that. And so now we want to provide those services virtually. Is there anything we should be concerned about doing to do that, so we can do that?
So maybe what kind of business are you in?
So I'm in cybersecurity, so I provide data consulting and education services.
Interesting.
So no tangible product.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, I think there's a couple layers to it. The first, I mean, if you're in any sort of a healthcare service profession, then I think you need to be very mindful about what is permitted to occur, in a virtual setting, right? So the telehealth is kind of a word that's been thrown around a lot lately. Some of those restrictions have come into the limelight because of the COVID-19. But Stacy, for you, I mean, I think the issue is less that probably and more of engaging to do business in other states, right? So, the general rule of thumb is if you are located, if you have physical presence in a state, you need to register there. Either your LLC or corporation needs to be residing there, or that entity needs to be authorized to do business as a foreign entity in those other states. So let's say you're located in Nebraska, you've got a Nebraska LLC. And then if you start to, if you have an office, say in Oklahoma, then you would need to register in Oklahoma as a foreign LLC there. They want to know you exist. They want to understand how to reach you if there are issues or if they get complaints. They may want to charge taxes, on the business you're doing there, of course. The rules get a little bit squishy insofar as how many contacts in a state lead you to need to be registered there. It is a state by state thing because naturally that's complicated and that's good for lawyers. So I can't give you a definitive answer about every state, but I would say that if you are intentionally marketing towards a state or a set of states or a region in order to solicit clients in that area, then that's the kind of thing that I would start to think, yes, you might want to consider registering there, especially once you get a couple of clients there. The law, I think, is pretty clear that if you just have a random sporadic set of clients from different states without any particular intention of operating in those states, that you don't need to register. But I guess, if let's say that you're doing remote work for say the next couple of years, and let's say you find you have a concentration of clients coming out of California or Texas, then I mean at some point it starts to look like you intend to work there, right? And I don't know what that point is for you. Again, it's a little bit of a risk assessment for you. The risk is that that the state finds out that you're operating there, and then they ring you and they say, hey, you should be registered here and send us records about your clients here so we can charge taxes, and stuff like that. So that's the risk that exists. I don't know how realistic it is that would happen. But I think once you start doing business with any regularity or consistency, even if it's small in a state, then you would consider doing a qualification. And it's usually maybe, I think in Nebraska, it's maybe $100 to register as a foreign entity in Nebraska. So it may vary by state, but it's a pretty quick filing and something that that could, I think probably be managed on a do-it-yourself basis. Hope that helped. I saw a question come through from Matt. Do I have knowledge about international patents? I'll share all the knowledge I have with you right now, which is to say, yes, they exist. Yes, you can get a patent from most other countries. It's expensive, and it is well beyond the competencies of the clinic or me. I am not a patent attorney, and we have had students who have advised about, say, the costs and benefits of seeking patent protection, whether it's U.S. or on the world stage. But again, just from my own perspective, it's a cost benefit question for you about whether the cost of the protection is going to be worth the benefit, and similarly whether the countries you're applying in will actually enforce your patent rights, which is certainly truer in certain countries than others. No, we do not do patent searches. That's another question Matt had. We do not, but we do have some resources at the law school. So the law library is the state's Patent and Trademark Resource Center, which is basically sponsored by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. They have some specific resources, certain computers that actually do help you with patent searches and materials to help you do some of those things on your own. Our librarians are also trained in the use of those resources. And so if that's something of interest, I'd recommend you shoot a note to Kelsey and I, and we can put you in touch with our head librarian to talk about those resources.
Outstanding. We have time for probably one more quick question if anybody has another question.
I see Allison raising her hand.
Yeah, I kind of have a question, but I also want to say thanks because you had my case in the fall, helped me get set up as an LLC.
That's right.
I had the same concerns as Stacy. I think you kind of addressed them. I actually do have a client potentially in California right now. And yeah, this whole pandemic means that people are looking for people to do consulting wherever they are. And so something I'm getting people are interested in. I had not ever considered that before. Yeah. So, but I don't have any regular clients in certain places, but I do want to be sure that I'm doing it right. So totally. I think you kind of addressed that. That's my other question is, so if I was a client in the fall and I have follow-up questions or things that I needed help with, I mean, I was kind of thinking I was a client in the fall and that was it, but right. Can I follow up or sure. How does that work?
Sure, and to some degree, it's kind of relates to one of Renee's comments too. So, I mean, the as a result of some of those challenges of our clinic being free and the educational purpose, we do have a limited bandwidth, and so we choose to limit our representation of businesses for sort of a set of predefined matters, right? So obviously with you, Allison and Renee, we did an engagement letter on the front end that said, hey, these are the certain things we're going to do, and when we're done, and that'll be it. Okay. If those things go into another semester, which they sometimes do, then we'll certainly carry over and get you involved with new students to finish out the matters we agreed to. But so notwithstanding that, so then what we would do typically is say, going forward, you might have some additional legal needs. Certainly keep us in the loop. If we can point you to the right answer or the right resources, we will do so. Sometimes those are quick questions that we are happy to, because Kelsey and I kind of know more about your situation. We're happy to give you some insight a bit more willingly than we would just somebody that was new. But honestly, a lot of the time it's sort of a recommendation that you connect with a local attorney, and we'll make referrals to those folks. Sometimes, if the timing works, we love to refer you to the students that you worked with, who might be practicing in your community, and are happy to take those referrals. Or if not them, then other students who are earlier in their career, maybe a little less expensive, and or kind of willing to work with a startup business out of the gate. So those are kind of the paths we will go. I would absolutely encourage you in this circumstance, though, to let us know, like, okay, here are the types of things I'm worried about or I'm thinking about dealing with. What would you recommend? And if we can help you in a brief way, we'll try to. But if not, we'll be honest with you and we'll say, all right, here's an alternative path and what we might recommend for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, well, everybody, those are great questions. I appreciate them all. Brett, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for speaking today, and also for providing such great services to the startup and small business community in the area. You've got a great reputation, and we certainly appreciate all the help you deliver. So thank you so much. And now, if Brett, if you will, would you please serve as the judge of our mug contest?
Oh, Lord.
Everybody hoist those mugs up there. If you're on video mute, unmute yourself and hoist that mug up there and let Brett pick a winner. And you can use whatever criteria you want, Brett.
All right, well, I mean, I see that Kelsey's not holding hers up. I think she knows that I'm not going to choose. Wait a minute. Wait. Okay, I thought that was going to be an Iowa mug. I'm seeing a lot of folks who are just resisting the urge. Jody, I think I'm gonna. Oh wait, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Jody. I think that's a high quality mug. High quality, absolutely.
All right, Jody's the winner. I've got that down. It's in stone. So thank you, Jody. And Brett, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. If you are not getting our weekly email that announces who the speaker is with the link for this week's meeting and so forth, please visit our website, where our website is connected to the Southeast Community College website. There's a button there that you can click to subscribe to our newsletter. And you'll get that every Monday, and it will tell you who the speaker is for the week, and it will tell you about upcoming speakers. So thank you so much. Next week's speaker will be Stacy Eldridge with Silicon Prairie Cyber, and we look forward to that. And so again, thank you everybody for joining us. You can watch this video later today on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, along with past speakers. So if you're looking for some wisdom, we've got a good archive of past coffee speakers, and check that out while you're sitting at home in these cyber secure times. So anyway, thank you, Brett. Thanks again for you and your team, and we'll see everybody next week.